This is Jen Con with Wonders Wealth, powered by Radish Digital. Today is the final installment of our Part 4 series with World Series champion Curt Schilling and former Magic of the Gathering head game designer Brian Tinsman in our discussion about Wonders of the First. Wonders of the First is a revolutionary collectible card game released in March 2025 and created by Brian Tinsman. In Part 4, we'll pull more baseball thoughts from Curt, as well as his thoughts on the Bo Jackson Battle Arena home team heroes and his lack of inspired hero status.
I'm living in the collector's realm while I'm playing, and I'm going to shift gears. And each of those pods and all the pods, the deck building and the DBS system and valuing decks is seamless and easy. And you can live inside of one of those and have a full-throated hobby in and of itself, and that's pretty amazing.
Now, thank you, Brian, for joining us. We're all sticking around to the end, but I had one kind of off little topic here, Curt. So you love to play games, you love baseball, and I know we have another game from the Block Packs universe. And you've played with him on the field, and it's Bo Jackson Battle Arena. So I just wanted to ask you if you had had a chance to look into that or play that game, and what any thoughts you had on that.
So yeah, I've always said I'll play a sports game when they make it as hard as the actual game was to play itself. And nobody's managed to do that yet. So, but what a great. Although I'm a little flustered right now. I don't have a card in the system, so I'm gonna have to talk to somebody about that. But I love it. It's clearly another game that did exactly what Brian just mentioned. Right? There's a deck building aspect to it, a collecting aspect to it, and a gameplay aspect to it. And the players that I've met that play Boba have been passionately invested in all the tiers of that game. I haven't played it. It's not, like I said, sport. I did the sports thing my whole life. I'm good. It's like somebody asking me if I want to go watch a baseball game. I'm like, I stood on the mound for Game 7 of the World Series. I'm not sure there's a better seat in the stadium for me anywhere. But no, I followed it. It clearly is something that's taken off, and another. I want to see that the whole thing, with block packs and all the stuff that goes around them. Such an amazingly unique opportunity, and it's a different realm. And they're charting new territory, and what that's going to mean in the future, I have no idea. But I'm kind of excited to watch the ride.
That's awesome, and I love your answer about standing on the mound. What better view could you ever
Yeah.
could you ever have? Yeah, that would about cover it.
I'm kind of spoiled that way.
So Kyle, you're coming more. Obviously, you're involved in Wonders and collecting, and I know you've dabbled a little bit into play, but more from the baseball side of the house here. Do you have some questions, comments, things you want to talk to Curt about on that side?
Yeah, we got into the baseball a little quick on the interview. So a lot of it you covered with the historic World Series that you played in. For some of the gamers that don't know about Curt, he still, I believe, holds the record for playoff percentage wins, right? 11-2, almost 85%, which is unbelievable.
And Kyle, I tell people, the postseason thing. You got to remember, 1993, Joe Carter walks off the Phillies, one of the most memorable World Series ever played. 2001, 9/11, the Yankees, Reds, all that other stuff with the Diamondbacks. 2004, I was in 3. I was blessed to be involved in. Screw Joe Carter, but I was in 3 of the most iconic
Absolutely.
World Series ever played. I was so lucky, especially when you consider somebody like Ernie Banks who never played in one. I was, and so yeah, no, that was it was a very cool experience.
To add to that a little bit, show how historic those were, as everybody knows. Like, those are the 3 World Series that I know exactly where I was when Joe Carter hit the walk-off. I know exactly where I was when Gonzo hit the walk-off. And I was sitting behind the Cardinals dugout when you steamrolled my Cardinals. I was the only time I really rooted for the Red Sox hard was against the Yankee series before, and then you guys came through, and I was like, oh crap.
And I don't think people remember how good that 04 Cardinal team
Oh, they
really
were
was.
tremendous.
They were
Yeah,
stacked.
105 wins.
But the problem was, well, we knew. I say this, and every time I say this, I say it with all due respect. We knew before the series they couldn't beat us. It wasn't whether they could beat us or not. We didn't think they could beat us in one game because they didn't have the swing and miss pitching. They had Dan Herron in the bullpen, but they didn't have any starter, and our lineup was stacked.
Absolutely.
And I just think it was a mismatch.
And then coming off the, tremendous comeback against the Yankees, there's just that fear there.
Well, that was our World Series. That was
Right.
our World Series, and that was the thing for Boston fans. And I remember I remember very vividly Game 4. We're in St. Louis, and Trot Nixon clears the base, almost hits a grand slam, and the guys start bringing champagne into the clubhouse to set it up, and I'm like, nope, get out, get out, no, 86 years, brother, no, ain't happening. They're like, well, we need time. I said, nope, no, you don't, get out. And like, we're up 3-0, 3 games to none. We're up 3-0 to get but still everybody's like, oh my God, we might lose it all. Yeah. So, that held true.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about that kind of goes with that series, since we're on it, is I heard on an interview not too long ago, and this was interesting to me because I'd never heard it. Can you tell the story about your wife and the scarves?
Oh, all right. So real quick, and Jen, I think you might love this one. So my wife, in 2001, when we were with Diamondback, she made these bedazzled scarves for the wives, and they wore it as kind of a team unity thing. And there were, and like in the clubhouse and like at work, everybody in sometimes you work with and you're around people you just don't like. And my wife and Johnny Damon's girlfriend weren't fans of each other. And so my wife made these scarves for the wives and the Red Sox, and we lost the first 3 games of the series, and we got our butts handed to us 19-6 in Game 3. And Michelle Damon comes into she was not Michelle Damon at the time, but she comes into the wives' room where the family stays, and she throws the scarf on my wife's lap, and she goes, a lot of good these did us. And you're going to need to bleep this next part, but I got to say the quote. My wife goes, well, maybe if you wore it, your husband wouldn't be 0 for fucking 20. And
I love it.
And they had to be separated, like physical. We won 8 straight games. Yeah. And it was funny because the next day in the clubhouse, Johnny Damon and I looked at each other. We walked in and I looked at him and he looked at me, and we both just started laughing. We're like, no way did that happen. Oh my God. But no, that was one of the that was the thing that propelled us to win 8 straight right there.
That's awesome. That was a great story. I guess the last real thing I was a catcher growing up. I played through college, never got past indie ball. But I dealt with pitchers my whole life, and I knew that certain pitchers really like to throw to certain catchers, and being a big fan of Darren Dalton and Tech and those guys, or did you have a preference? Were you just okay with whoever was back there? Or
I kind of had a preference. What my preference was consistency. Pace of play was one of my weapons. I got the ball back and I pitched. I didn't want to be out there doing things, and so tempo was a big deal to me. I had guys who I preferred to throw as opposed to other guys when their disparity was significant from a veteran to a rookie. Yeah. What I wanted though, whoever it was the same guy every game. Gotcha. I didn't want to switch up because I didn't want to have a situation where I had to get him into a rhythm, or there's already so many other things I have to get done in the game. I don't want to have to get my catcher on the same page too. Absolutely. And that's what made guys like Todd Pratt and Doug Mirabelli and Rod Barajas and Chad, guys who weren't primary catchers. That's what made them strong, was they could catch me and I wouldn't lose a beat. I preferred the same guy, not necessarily because of the guy, but I wanted the consistency and I wanted the tempo.
Okay. Good deal.
But you know what? And there's an analogy here for wonders too. One of the things I noticed with a lot of new players, well, a lot of players in a complex game system or a system that can be deep, is players feel an urgency to complete their moves and their turns and their rounds. It's self-imposed, right? That's my big thing. One of the things as a new player, you need to find somebody who isn't going to pressure you. I get back, I'm thinking of the tournament scene where I'm sure there's going to be timing and all the things that go with that. But learning this game and learning any complex game, you're going to find the biggest amount of stress is self-imposed. You're trying to hurry up and go, and I'll tell you what, you will not win at Wonders if you do that, because again, getting back to Tins and the depth of the game, every single turn of every round, there's potentially multiple keywords that can be in effect in play. Understanding what eternal means and understanding what on rounds end means. And you have cards, and I know this from the Umberthine deck, that, I have cards that, like, if they're in the abyss at the end of the turn, they come back on the play. If you miss those things, this is the other thing you understand about great design. If I make a mistake early in the game, it can cost me the game 5 turns later. And that's one of the magical things for me, that this game presents the depth to plan out a 7-turn match and understand that the mistake on turn 1, you can't take it back. And on turn 7, it burns you. And so I think that's one of the magical pieces to what he's got here, what they have here. And one of the reasons I think that, again, and I always tie everything back because, I played golf when I pitched because golfing was the only thing in the world similar to being a pitcher in the big leagues. You're by yourself. The ball never moves unless you make it. And it does, whatever it does, it's your fault. There's all these things and preparation for this is a big thing for me, right? I'm a prep guy. So I'm reading through, I physically got my Umberthine, all the cards in the orbital and laid them out by, land, item, spell, and to look, because there's interconnectivity here that you don't see at first.
Right.
And the way the cards are printed, the other thing I would implore you for new players, read what the card says. Period. Full stop. Not what you want it to say, not what you think it should say, not what you think it's intending. Read what it says, because at the end of the day, when the rules are complete, there won't be ambiguity and there won't be people going, well, what does this? No, this is what it says. Because you see so many players go, hey, does that mean? No, it doesn't mean anything. It means exactly what it says. Stop. And that's one of the challenges. But it's also, again, one of the indicators of the depth of the system.
Awesome. Great. Well, I love the way that circled back right into the Wonders. So I'm going to leave it at that and just say it's been a pleasure to meet you and speak with you. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, I echo that, Curt. Thank you so much for spending the time. Brian, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add, but I was going to give Curt the last chance if there's anything else he wanted to send out to the community or to ask any other questions.
I'll just say that Curt pointed out that the community is so positive, and is very rare. It's very hard to find a community that just is uplifts each other, and Curt's an example of that. Like, really passionate community member, and that's worth more than almost anything else when you have a game, especially a game that's in this early stages of growth. Super grateful for that, and we'll try to keep that going. Good things come out of that.
Perfect. Any final words, Curt?
I've given you enough words. Like I just totally bogarted this entire thing and just talked my way through. And no, I appreciate the invite. And I'm very much looking forward to the future of the game and the company and the team that Tins is a part of, doing some magical and special stuff. And I'm available anytime you need to fill a space.
That's amazing. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you spending the time to to get in here and talk to us and
My
fill
pleasure.
us in about your Wonders play. Thank you, Brian.
Can I close with one last thing? I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
No, I just started my own podcast called The Complete Game. And it's baseball. It's all baseball, and you can find it on my YouTube channel. But that's my newest foray into the world. So
Got to stay busy.
yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys all very much for joining us, and we will see you guys all next time on the next edition of Wonders of Wealth.